All right, hello everyone.
Hello.
Nice to see some folks connected, even though the weather is a little iffy right now. Give it just a couple more minutes and see how many other folks join us before we get started. But if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, in the bottom right corner of your screen, you'll see a chat box. And if you like, you can enter any question that you have there. If you have any technical questions or any questions about the library system in general, there is an option to, instead of chatting with everyone, there's an option to change that to chat just with the GCLS Adult Programs host. So if you have any questions that are, if you're having any IT questions or any questions about the library system in general, you can direct them to Rachel under GCLS Adult Programs. But if you have any questions about genealogy that you'd like answered, feel free to type your message in the chat box and we'll make a list and go through them. Excellent. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'll introduce myself. My name is Ashley. I am the assistant manager at the Simpsonville branch of the Greenville County Library System.
The genealogy thing started.
How do I make it louder?
So at the bottom right corner of your screen, you might see a small button that looks like a megaphone or a speaker next to the clock on your desktop.
There it is. Okay.
And you should be able to adjust the volume there.
Yay. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. So I'm Ashley. I'm the assistant manager at the Simpsonville Library, and although I don't work at the South Carolina room at Maine, like a lot of our experts do, I've been an amateur genealogist since high school. So lots of research used a lot of our library resources, and I've gotten to help out a lot of different people doing some programs at the branches. So this is our first time doing the genealogy Q&A virtually. We were able to do a couple of them last year before we had to start transitioning into virtual programming. So this is our first time doing this virtually, so we're going to see how it goes. We've gotten a couple really great questions through email that we'll go over. And then if you have any questions that come up during the call, feel free to type those in the chat box in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, and we will get to them in order. So yeah, one of the first questions that we got was from Ruth. And Ruth, you are researching Russian genealogy, is that right?
Hi. I think it actually might be Poland. The link goes to Galicia, but at that time of immigration, Galicia was part Austria, and then some of it became Poland and some of it became Russia. I have my, who I questioned about here, my paternal grandmother was an area that became Poland, but my maternal grandfather was from an area that became Russia.
Oh.
So if we could, I guess, all these questions come up, right?
Yeah, and especially when you have any situation when there are, times when borders have changed, a couple of areas has changed hands, anything like that. Of course, records are one of the things that kind of get, tossed in the air. And during times of unrest and transition, records may not have been kept or they may have been moved. So the best place to start for that, if you know that an area, like you said, part of it became Poland and part of it became Russia. I didn't get to look at the Polish side of the record keeping, but I did find some really good resources on Russian archives.
Okay.
There is the National Archives of Russia that you can go to. And I will put a link to that. I'll type that address here. It is in Russian, but if you are accessing it through Google Chrome, when you type in, when you go to the web page, it will give you an option to translate the page into English. So that I found to be a very helpful place to start.
Okay.
And then there's another source, and the second link is more of a, it's not itself a database, but it has links to a lot of other databases. And they had some good links. That's where I found the Russian Archives website, and they also linked to a blog post on cemetery databases with explanations on how to read and translate records that are in Russian, what to look for common words and that kind of thing. So that was a really good resource. And let me see if really quickly I can look up. Let's see.
You may be getting to this, but when I get to that site, where should I begin? Should I begin with like the town I know or family names or?
Yeah, I would start either one of those places. Since you have a location, that might be a really good place to start. Especially if there was any change in the name over time, if the spelling changed or anything like that. It might be easier to sort through by location. Or you could start by name. I would just keep both of those in mind. See where you might find something first. I would think either one would be a good option. Let's see. And then for Polish resources, here is a site that has information on how-to guides and books that are available. And anytime you run into a site that refers you to print resources that are not available locally for you, the library does offer an interlibrary loan service. So if there's something that's available at a library in the continental US, a lot of times we can have those materials sent here. Contact your local library branch for more information about that.
Would you please leave the information on the sites up for a bit longer?
Yeah.
They're in the chat button. You just need to go there.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if anyone has questions about something that comes up later, I can provide my email address if you need to follow up on something later on. All right, so let's take a look at the next question.
Thank you, Ashley. That was very helpful. I appreciate you giving me those hints.
Of course, yeah. All right, so records from Denmark and Norway. All right, so.
That's me.
All right. Mhm.
Actually, I should have said what I'm trying to do now is Ireland. And I've already gone through records in Denmark and Norway.
Mhm.
After many years using Ancestry that even with world membership didn't help me. So now I'm trying to use Family Search, and they don't give you the hints like Ancestry does.
Oh, yep.
I got started with quite a few leads, but how do you search and where are things for Ireland?
Yeah. Family Search, I know that one it's formatted a little bit differently because we're very spoiled with Ancestry's hints and everything that they give. And Family Search is run by the LDS Church, so they have it set up a little bit differently, and some of the features are a little bit different.
Right.
So for Ireland, let me see. Some of those you can search as parish resources. We have a guide for this. Let me see if I can locate it. I do have a printout. Let's see, international. Let's see. Because I know Irish records in particular can be a little bit difficult to search.
Okay. I thought it would be easy after learning Danish and Norwegian.
It could be. I haven't tried Denmark or Norway, but I have heard that Irish records can be a little bit difficult to track down every now and then.
Okay.
So we do have a guide. I can scan that and email that to you if you want to. I'll give my contact at the end. But we do have a specific genealogy research guide for Irish genealogy. And then at the South Carolina Room downtown, they have books and periodicals specific to Ireland as well.
Okay.
Those are some resources that I can get you connected to after the class.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, affordable research. Okay, so alternatives to ancestry. That is a fantastic question. Who had that question? Okay, well, it's really an answer that everyone can use. And I do have some good news up front. The library has a subscription to Ancestry.com. And for the last about a year, they have been gracious enough to allow access to our library users from home. Normally, Ancestry is a resource that you have to use in-house at a library location, either on one of our computers or using our Wi-Fi on your own laptop or other mobile device. But for right now, they have extended free access to Ancestry through the library website through the end of June. And it's very possible that they will extend that through the fall. But if you need alternatives to that, you can access many of the same records from Ancestry through other library databases. The primary ones that are connected to Ancestry that I use the most are Heritage Quest, which gives you access to census records. They have census and some vital records, so birth, marriage, and death. And the interface is a little bit different. It looks a little different, and I can give a little tour of that in a minute. So that's one that I use a lot. And then Fold 3 for military records, some government records, naturalization, as well as census and city directories. And you can download records from all of those resources to your computer. So although you can't build trees with them, you can download and save all of the records that you find. And there is a way you can also download all of the records from Ancestry as well. But let me see if I can get this to work where I can. Yes, okay. So I'm going to share my screen so that y'all can see. Okay, so this is the library website. So to access this from home, you'll go to greenvillelibrary.org and go to our Learning and Research tab. And then on the right here, underneath Genealogy and Local History, you'll see Research Your Family Tree. And that pulls up all of our genealogy related databases. So there's a lot listed here, and it can look a little bit intimidating. But the primary ones that you'll be interested in, we have, like I said, through the end of June at least, we have Ancestry that you can get to from home. We have Family Search, and then Fold 3 and Heritage Quest are the two that are connected to Ancestry, and you can access those at any time from home. So when you're on your home computer, when you click these, it will prompt you to sign in with your library card number and PIN. So if you have any questions about that, contact or visit your local library branch, and we'll get you all set up for that. So Heritage Quest looks like this. So you can see it looks a little bit different from Ancestry. And you do have to go in and select for census records the individual year that you're looking at. Instead of searching a name, it has you go backwards, searching the census year first. So if you're searching 1940, it will pull up something that looks very familiar. You'll see this is identical to the search field that you would see on Ancestry. And you don't have to use all of these, but it does have an interesting feature of having all of the fields noted. So if you want to search just for individuals who fit certain criteria on the census record for that year, you can search those fields as well as name. So they have census and some obituaries as well. So that's a really fantastic resource. Let's see, and then if we go back here, Fold 3 is the other Ancestry powered free resource. And this is what you would use if you are looking for military records or some limited government records. So you can search a place if you want to look for South Carolina. And then it will let you narrow it down depending on what type of document you're looking for. And it will highlight information as is relevant. So that's a very good resource. Any other related questions about the free resources that are on through the library website?
I don't know if this is answering your question, but it looks like everything is American records. How do you access European records?
Right. So European, there are some. Let me go back and share the screen again. I'm just going to start back here and then back. So we are closing out of this. Okay. So if you are searching for European records, say on Ancestry.
So you access this all from Greenville Library, not through ancestry.com.
Right. Going
Okay.
through the library gets you there through our subscription service. So you're not having to pay to access it. So it's going through our subscription. There are some limitations. You can't build a tree on our version of Ancestry. And I don't know that you can comment on the message boards. You can read the message boards, but I don't think you can comment on them. But yeah, go through the library website and that will.
Can you pull up your existing tree in ancestry.com through the Greenville Libraries link?
Yeah, if it's a tree that has been published, like if you
Yes.
then you would be able to access it. You just would not be able to edit it.
Okay, gotcha. So I could access my hints and go through all of those hints through your website for my tree.
That's a good question. That might be possible. Let me do a quick search and see if I can find one real quick to use as an example. Let's see if that works. Okay, let's see if we can find, let's go by family trees. Okay. Okay, so if we are looking at, here's a public tree. Okay. So I'm not sure that because it's not showing the hints necessarily. Let me see what happens when I pull up a record. View that record. Will it show me? Okay, so it will still show the suggested records on the right. But what you have to do, it does take a little bit longer to access it. You just have to take an extra couple steps. So if you're looking at an individual on a tree who has a record associated with them, you would view that record. And then once you pull that up, it will show you if there are suggested records. It will show it in the bottom right, like it does with traditional. It will just look a little bit different.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and if you need to, let me find an example of a record that you'd be able to save. If there's a record that you want to save to your computer, and you're not signed into your tree or anything like that, and you just want to save it to the computer, there's a little bit of a trick to it. You click the print button, and instead of sending it to a printer, you save it as a PDF.
Gotcha.
That printer location, save it as a PDF, and that will let you save it to your computer.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, let's see what our next question is. Researching or locating slave records in Alabama. All right. Okay, so for this, I know there is, I believe it was a multi-state project to index and make available slave records for a lot of different states. I know we participated, the Greenville Library System participated for South Carolina in sharing our records. And let me see if I can find information about that. But one thing you can do, if it's something that has not been added to Ancestry, I would recommend, if you know the county where those records might be, you can check with that library system and see what information they might have on their website. See if you can contact them about that. Local archives, library systems, and state archives as well are some of the best resources for that. Because a lot of times it's the local researchers who've done a lot of the legwork on that.
I have a question.
Mhm.
I have some typed up notes that my family is related to some of the folks that came on the Mayflower.
Mhm.
So I have a date and a birth year. Is there maybe a Mayflower, group or something that I could look part of this? Yeah.
Yeah, there definitely is. So Mayflower research is very extensive. Let me see where their official website is.
Okay.
Let's see. And there are several websites for this, but I'm going to put in a couple of the links. So that's one. Let's see if I can find a second one. Article. Okay. So these are a couple different resources specifically for tracking the descendants of Mayflower passengers. So those are both really good resources for that.
Okay.
And that is very exciting. That's definitely something, like I said, that has been researched very extensively. So once you find that link, you should be able to find quite a bit of information.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ashley, was that supposed to be in chat for everyone, or did you just send it to one person?
Did I accidentally only send it to, let's see.
I didn't see it, so it might be my problem. Oh,
There it
it
is.
came up now.
I'm sorry, I accidentally only sent that to one user.
I got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, so next question. Let's see, refugees. Belgium and Holland, and we're in Marseille. Wow. Okay, so genealogy research for Holland. Something that I have not explored yet. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like there are several different websites for researching ancestors from the Netherlands. Let's see, and this article is fairly recent, it's from last year. That might be a good place to start. I always like to, whenever I'm researching an area that I'm not familiar with, I usually do a general Google search to find an article from written by somebody who has done more research, if they've been working on it for several years, and see what sources they recommend. That's usually where I start. And if I can find more than one article, I'll see what overlaps. As a general rule of thumb, if you're not sure where to start with researching internationally, look for the National Archive website for that country. Most of them will have links because genealogy is becoming so popular internationally. A lot of National Archive sites will have something like a place to start. They'll have tips and things to give you an idea of where to start for looking for records, especially to help if it's a language that you're not familiar with. Okay, records of slave owners in South Carolina by county. That is an excellent question. Let me see what I can find on our website. Okay, so in 2014, the library worked on a specific project for this. Okay, so there is the slave name index for Greenville County, South Carolina. Researching probate records and entering information to a critical database. So there is something for Greenville County specifically that I believe is available at the main library downtown in their South Carolina room. Was there a county that was not, was it Greenville County or was it a different county?
It was Greenville.
Greenville, okay. So that would be a really good place to start. I know a lot of their staff at South Carolina Room have spent many, many hours specifically on indexing from probate records and news articles and anything else that they could find to create an index. So I'm not sure. Let me see. We could contact the head of the South Carolina Room. And knows that says it's a printable record. I'm guessing that could be sent as a downloadable PDF document as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Of course. And if your research happens to lead to other counties in South Carolina, I would check their county library websites to see if they might have a specific resource listed on their research pages.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, local Daughters of the American Revolution. Yeah, so I know we have a couple different chapters of the Daughters of the American Revolution organization. Let's see if we can find their webpage. All right, so locally, it looks like there are several chapters in Greenville. There's one in Fountain Inn. Let me get this information posted. So yeah, the Daughters of the American Revolution has a really great way to find all of their local chapters. And that webpage should include information. Once you find one that looks interesting, on the left side, once you type in your zip code, it will have all of the local chapters listed, and then they each have their own individual websites with information on meetings and how to contact them, as well as information on how to join.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah.
My last question is my father's father was first generation American. And when he went to do research, when he went to Ireland, he
Mhm.
found he could not get very far because the parish church had burned down.
No.
Do you think Ireland, well, I mean, I have a feeling that, that's a dead thing because every parish kept their own birth and death. So I have, his location, his birth date, his parish,
Mhm, mhm.
but I don't think there's really anything farther that could be done with that. Do you have any thoughts on Ireland?
In that case, I would start looking at cemetery records. So even though the paper records were destroyed, it could be that they have, I'm not sure what the likelihood of anyone going back and recreating any of the records, particularly the parish cemetery records.
Okay.
If any of the stones are still legible, I would start on Find a Grave. Let me get a link. Let me see. Let's see. Specifically, that's in Northern Ireland. Let's just go directly to the full website. That's a good place to start. How far? I mean, that's not going back too terribly far. So while the births and deaths may not be, you may not be able to track those. I'm not sure if marriages were also, depending on how far back, I'm not sure if they were recorded both in the parish and then with local, like a local.
Yeah, so that would be late 1800s. So I got the
Right.
impression from my dad that everything, I mean, country, right? So it wasn't Dublin, right?
Mhm.
And everything was very, very local. Also, that perhaps they did not require, documentation other than the priest writing of these two were unioned and these children were baptized, blah blah blah. But that it is worth a try.
Yeah. The only other thing that I would look for would be court records. So any sort of legal records, probate, wills, Irish court records. Let's see. Military records would be another place to start if they had pension records or like a widow's pension,
Okay.
anything like that.
Is there anything, I'm assuming they didn't come through Ellis Island because all of that family was Boston. Is there something that they're trying to recreate of those records of the immigrants coming in from Boston?
That's a good question. It depends on when they arrived. And it depends on how many people were arriving at the same time. I mean, I know a lot of times those ports were flooded with immigrants, so they may not have had time to take as much information as maybe we would wish that they had. But that might be a good, let's check some immigration, let's see what kinds of things. Let's see, Boston. And you said that would have been about 1800s?
I would think that it would be maybe mid 1800s. I'm sorry, I don't have my paper right in front of me.
So yeah, passenger lists are a good place to start. So if you go through Ancestry or Family Search
Okay.
and look at passenger lists, that might give some information. I mean, it really probably wouldn't give too much because a lot of times, those manifests, they were just interested on the people who were on board the boat.
Right.
So it might give you an idea of who they were traveling with, but probably not too much information on who did not make the same journey.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I see a question, have ancestors from Cilicia? Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if we can find out. Okay. Okay, so would these be, looks like this is some German research, is that right? I'm going to assume that is German from my quick little Google search there. Yeah, so let's see. Here is one place to start for that. Let's see what else. And of course, it depends, you know, I see there's records, some records dating back quite far. And that this might be in another area that may have changed hands over time. So this would be another interesting one to have to track through who may have been in possession of the records over time. Let's see. Okay, so it depends on which area. Okay, so it looks like there are multiple. Czech, Austrian. Oh, great. Wow, that looks like a very interesting area to research. I know Ancestry has some records, some of the names look familiar. And I'm going to show y'all how to search the card catalog of Ancestry to look for specific locations and records that you can search by location, and that way if you don't have a family name or things like that to go by. So I will jump back here really quick and share this screen. All right. So if you are on library website, you go to Ancestry. A really great place to look is the card catalog. So if you are searching for a specific area, let's search a keyword. See what comes up. Okay, so not as many resources as I thought. And that happens every now and again. But if we search, let's see what some of the locations here. So we have Austria and Czech Republic involved, as well as Germany. Okay, so what we can do, let's see. Page I want. This page, okay. So if you are searching there, and we can narrow it down. You can see over here on the left side of the screen, all of the different locations that you can search and browse, filter by location. So if we wanted to narrow it down to, I'm going to take a guess here. I'm just going to choose one. And if you want to look at records specifically from the area of Saxony, Germany, once it loads, it will allow you to narrow it down even further to more specific areas. And you can see these are very specific records. So if you are looking for information on the Kingdom of Saxony and State of Saxony, Germany, Lutheran baptisms, marriages, births, and burials, 1535 through 1921 in German, that's a good way to find that. And a lot of these records are ones that do not turn up. They are so specific. They don't turn up when you're doing a general search by someone's name, birth date, and death date. These are the kinds of records that may not show up or possibly have not been indexed. So if you know the general area where somebody lived, you can search the card catalog and see what might be there. So as an example, if you are researching somewhere here in Simpsonville, we can see if anything for Simpsonville comes up, just as an example. And of course, I think because all my filters are there, that might be a problem. Where did it go? Okay. Let's try this again. Still nothing, really, okay. Let's try title. Okay, so you would be able to search Greenville County. So if your specific place name doesn't work, if the town or small locale that you're looking for does not turn up anything, broaden the search to a county or other area and you might find something else. And I know these records are not ones that would necessarily show up if you were just doing a general vital record search. And then once you open one of those, you would be able to search, or you might be able to, some of these require, so this is an index. So you could search, let's say for year, say 1930. Let's see if it'll let us see different things. Yeah, so you could look that way. And other records will let you just browse without having to input any specific search criteria. So that is, catalog option is a good way to find more information. Okay, and I see another question here. How started on Ancestry to transfer all research from PAF? I'm not sure what PAF stands for.
PAF was the forerunner of Family Search.
Okay.
And I've written a book.
Mm-hmm.
I have hundreds of records, but I don't know. I have not gotten into Ancestry. My cousin and I have done hundreds of hours of research, and it's all there. But I'm just starting now online, doing research online. So any help?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Do you still have access to that PAF tree? Is it still?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. And then aside from that, on my husband's side, I would like to get connected to a relative who's doing all the research already and has charts and everything printed up with my information or my husband's information that he has compiled. And I would like to link up with that and see how to go about that.
Yeah, yeah.
So there are two very separate questions, but the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh man, that's the question when you're talking about how to store your genealogy research and how to
exactly,
and what to do if the system changes. And that's definitely something that, especially in years to come, is something that is going to become a little bit more difficult. Change as parent companies are sold and different things like that. Organizing your records is a very good question as platforms evolve. I would check and make sure that you still have access to that original PAF tree. See if you can still get in there and edit things, change things. You might be able to export that information to another system. I know some of them, depending on the file type, you can transfer between platforms on your computer. That's okay. I think the staff at the South Carolina room might have more information about. Let me get you their email address.
Great.
Let's see. So that is the contact for the South Carolina room. And they might have better advice to give on that. I have not personally done a platform switch.
Okay.
Still using a program that we downloaded to the computer about 10 years ago. It's getting a little tricky because, we can't, we can get it a little bit, but it's not, it's getting a little bit tricky. So yeah, that's definitely a good question. And then as far as contacting, if, so did you find someone who had built a tree on Ancestry that had that information?
Yes, yes.
Awesome. Yeah, so definitely what you could do, what I would do, I would create a free, do one of those trial accounts on Ancestry, like the month free trial or whatever it is they're currently running. And you should be able to reach out and contact that user. There should be a way for you to contact them through Ancestry.
Okay.
And reach out and see if, you could get make contact and then see if you could share information and kind of put your heads together and see what all you can find. Yeah.
Yeah, we just discovered each other and then got together with all our stuff. And he had my husband's family, like my husband's grandparents, picture of them right on his chart. So
Oh, wow.
very exciting, but he's new to it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm new to Ancestry, like totally new to Ancestry.com. So it seems the best thing to do is to find out a way of me jumping into his files and connecting.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there's a way to like merge trees, like
Right.
you got that all your research from PAF, and I'm not sure if this would work to convert it to Ancestry. I'm not sure if that's possible. But if hypothetically it were, there might be a way. Let me see if I can find an answer here. Okay. Can you merge trees on Ancestry? Okay, so it is not possible to merge family trees, but you can copy people one by one between trees, which sounds like a very intense process.
Right, because
You would
we're
have to
talking
go-
hundreds of names
Yeah.
that we can add to his and he can add to ours.
Mm-hmm. But
Ashley, I have a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if I missed the answer or not, but you mentioned trees many times. Do you have a tree template you would recommend where we should start?
So it depends on so there's different options. If you want a paper record, if you want a record that is kept on your computer hard drive, or if you want one that is cloud connected through a service like Ancestry.
Okay.
Three different ways to go about it. There is like a proper system for numbering if you are doing it, paper and pencil. There is a kind of a standardized system for numbering individuals and creating an index that way. That's why I kind of recommend getting one that you can download to your computer or one that is cloud connected. It does that numbering for you. A lot of times if you're connected to a site like Ancestry or Family Search, if you're using one of those services to build your tree, some of them have free options up to a certain number of individuals in the tree. Say, I think it's 1,000 or 5,000, something like that. You could do it for free. Then after that is when they start paying, you would have to start paying for it. So there's different options. I don't think there's any one silver bullet option, just because say if you want to stop paying for Ancestry, your access is then, you can't really get to it to continue adding. I mean, that's, kind of how their system works. You keep paying to have access to that tree. If you have it on your computer, that's really great. You are entering information manually. So it's a little bit more legwork where you have to input all that information yourself, but it is kept on your computer. So there's pros and cons to each system.
Okay, thank you. And where we began today was a Russia site. And what kind of security, privacy is there, or is there none when we're international?
Yeah. So, I mean, as always, you know, use your discretion with internet security. Websites that are prefaced with HTTPS are generally more secure, but a lot of these sites are made by, you know, unless you're looking at like a national archive, you know, a government-based site or an organization-based site. A lot of information that you're going to find online is going to be from individuals. It might be on blogs, it might be on like a wiki site, on, you know, that kind of thing. Or it might be a very small organization, local archives, that kind of thing, that are not like certified secure, but they're also probably not out to get you. And as long as you're not entering payment information or downloading files that want you to execute a program on your computer, if you're just looking at a web page and, you know, looking at information or a database, you should be fine. But as always, use your internet safety rules.
Okay, thank you. Good advice.
So yeah, let's see. Okay, excellent, excellent. Thank you, Michael, for sharing about how to
Yes,
tree. That is wonderful.
thank you very much.
And GEDCOM files, yes. I knew there was a file type that is specific for family tree. I just couldn't pull it off the top of my head. That is absolutely wonderful. Thank y'all. Let's see. All right, so we have a few minutes left. Let me check and see if we have any other questions that I haven't gotten to. Best filing journaling method for document research. So as far as the best filing or journaling to document research, I have recently taken up using Google Docs for my personal research. Google is free. I can access it from any computer or mobile device, anywhere there's internet. So I don't have to take all of my paper files with me, and they're fully searchable. So if I know that I am jumping between records and I need to look for where I researched about John Doe 1 and then John Doe Jr., I can search specifically for them by name and find the document where I had done research. I could put a date on it, location, you know, you can add that information so you know where you were, where you found the information. The other cool thing about Google Docs is you can have hyperlinks to websites. So if there's a website you want to bookmark for later, you can add that link in there so you know it's saved, you can go back to it. And then you can summarize the information that you found on that site. You can copy and paste information from websites into a Google Doc, again, making it fully searchable. So that's something that I started doing, and I find it is easier to keep up with than the several notebooks that I was using before. And then where to find census records from Ireland. Those are accessible through Ancestry, I believe through Ancestry and Heritage Quest. Let me see. Well, no, not Heritage Quest. Those are available through Ancestry, Census and Voter Lists. Oh, they've got UK and they've got Canada. Yes, okay, so Ancestry does have Ireland Census Search Forms 1841 to 1851.
Okay.
They did a census in 1901 and 1911 that you can search. And then they had a specific Army census in 1922. So a little bit more scattered, but there are a few censuses that are available. Yes, and I see over here there's Dawn and Linda, Evernote is a good way to compile. Yes, Evernote is also excellent. It's another platform that you can access, much like Google Docs, from multiple devices, which is also great if you are sharing research between, if you and someone else are working on the same research. They're both excellent options for collaborating. Yeah, all right, so we just have a couple minutes left. Does anyone else have a question?
Yeah, I heard that one of the services at the Greenville Library was, now this was pre-COVID, it was about 3 years ago, like you could request an hour's consultation with an library person, and they would help you navigate some of the help you get started on, say, on Ancestry. Has that stopped during COVID, or is that still possible?
So it is being done virtually. I know there's an option. Let me see if I can get that link. Book a Librarian is a fantastic option. At some point, we will be reintroducing that in person. But for right now, here is the link to how we can do this virtually. So you can request an appointment. Let me make sure that, let's see what number. Yes. So under your appointment information, you would select that drop-down box, and underneath that category for how to use the library and its resources, towards the bottom, there are two options. One is for how to start researching my family history, and one is for how to start researching local history. So that would match you up with an expert from the South Carolina room, and they would be able to help you out either via telephone call or a Zoom video call like this. So
Great.
to walk you through, share their screen, and give you.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
And how would I get started on that?
Yeah, so you can either go to, I put a link in the chat box there.
Oh, I see.
For,
Okay.
for that online, or you could call any of our locations and we could fill out that form for you if you wanted us to.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be back up and running very soon. We don't have, unfortunately, we don't have a date for that yet. But doing those in-person local librarians where we could sit down and look at things together. But for right now, we do have the telephone and Zoom call options. So yeah, looks like we've run into the end of our program. So thank you all so much for coming. If you need to ask any follow-up questions, I'm going to put my email address as well as the South Carolina room email address so that you can contact. That's my email, and then the South Carolina room general email. So either one, and if you email me and if there's something that I can't answer, I will forward your message on to someone who can.
Thank you, Ashley.
You are
Thank you. It's very interesting.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so the next round of genealogy programs coming up, I believe Shanna from the South Carolina room has a program penciled in for the end of April. And then we'll probably do another one of these drop-in programs at the end of May. So keep an eye on our virtual events program calendar and see when we get those scheduled.
Thank you. It's very interesting.
Thank you.